Very good, very good. So today we are at Monmouth County Workforce Development Office, how to develop and deliver a powerful and memorable elevator pitch. Marty Latman is our speaker, and I've known Marty for a few years now, and I have seen him in action speaking. He has been to Monmouth County in person before, and he is going to join us today online on Zoom. So many of you have seen him at other networking events, and you know how wonderful he is and how knowledgeable he is. Marty Latman, called by many people as the best networker that they know, is a people helper and matchmaker. He is the managing partner of Latman Advisory Services, LLC. In addition to providing business consulting to organizations, he trains, teaches, advises, and supports individuals in different industries with various disciplines in techniques to help them successfully execute their job search campaign. Marty takes a collaborative approach as he works closely to meet the unique needs and goals of each client that he works with. Marty has been a guest speaker to many networking groups where he has discussed various career development topics, including networking, interview techniques, and advanced career planning strategies. He's spoken to numerous local and national organizations at their local and national meetings and conferences. And why is Marty the best networker around? Because he's actually started a few of his own groups as well. So maybe he'll talk to us today a little bit about that too. So welcome, Marty. Thank you so much for donating your time to us to share this information.
Thank you, Christine. Really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to come down to your group. Coming down physically, it's great to come down to the shore area. Under the circumstances, though, right now, this is the best we could do via Zoom. So I'm here. Everyone, listen. As we go through the presentation, what I would ask you to do is that if you could put in the chat your calling card, so to speak, your contact information, what you were looking for, how people could help you, and how you could help people on this call. I think that would be beneficial to everyone. And then if you want, you could save the chat at the end of the presentation. As Christine says, I'm more than happy to share this presentation with you. My contact information will be at the end of the chat, but it's really easy. You can send me an email at martylatman@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to share the presentation with you. So, starting right now, buckle your seatbelts. I'd ask you to have a paper and pencil next to you. This will be somewhat group participation, I promise you. And I think we'll have a lot of fun as we go through this, as we talk about the elevator pitch and how much it is needed in today's environment. These are the items that we'll talk about this morning. I'm going to talk about the pitch and really what its purpose is. A lot of people, talk about, I need an elevator pitch, but then the question becomes why? And they do not always have that answer. I'll talk about the things that you should include in the pitch, the situations when to use an elevator pitch. And a lot of people think, well, it's only when I'm in transition. That is not really the case, as you'll find out as we go through this. We'll talk about the different types of pitches, and it's not one and done. There are a bunch of pitches that you need in different formats you can use. We'll talk about the basic items that you should have in the pitch. How many do you really need? How to create it. Now, many of you might have spent quite a bit of time on the elevator pitch and crafting your pitch. We're going to go through it, and you can take a look and say, is this what I did? Or maybe I might want to modify what I'm doing at this point. I'll give you some sample pitches, and then I'll talk about how to deliver the pitch. And then it'll be your time to construct the pitch. You could use what you currently have, or you could spend the time from what we talk about creating a new one. We'll see as we go along, and then we'll wrap it up. So these are the items that we'll talk about today. And hopefully, during this period, you'll have a better understanding about the elevator pitches and what you need to do. If you have a question, I guess you can put it in the chat. Christina, monitor that. Just preface it with the word question. This makes it easier for her to spot any questions coming through. And then if we have time towards the end, we'll have not only elevator questions on the elevator pitch, but anything else that I could possibly help you with. This is your time. I really appreciate you going to spend it with me. And hopefully, what I have to say will be beneficial to you in your search. Well, let's start with the pitch. What is it and what's its purpose? The pitch, it's really a short and persuasive speech you use that will introduce yourself or promote a product or a company or an idea. There's two things here, short and persuasive. Keep those in mind. The pitch really gives the listener a lasting impression on who you are and what you do, and most important, what is your value to them? To them. It becomes individualized. And so as a result of it, each listener hears what you have to say in a different way. The purpose of the pitch is to quickly and clearly, explain a concept, and also to spark interest, a person's interest in what you do and who you are. That's what it is. Another purpose, and when you're generally meeting people, is to convince the person to meet you again in a longer time environment, learn more about you and the value that you can offer to them. That's the second meeting. That's what you're really in one of your goals in going through your elevator pitch. Things to include in the pitch. Well, there's some main things. What you want to try to do is have an attention getter. When they talk about who you are and why you are special, you want to spark curiosity in the listener. And they're thinking, well, what problems do you solve? What problems can you solve for me, the problems that I have? And I'm wondering that as I listen to you. Summarize what you do and why you are unique. And really, it's to start as a conversation. You can ask a question during this. And it's really the vehicle to get to the next step in building relationships with people. It's trying to get a next meeting. In the past, what we did when we met physically, it's your business card, you leave, you can hand that out. Well, in Zoom today, it's kind of difficult. Your only outlet really is in the chat box. So these are the things we really want to try to include in the pitch. Now, there's different situations when you would be in a position to deliver your pitch. It's in the social setting. It doesn't necessarily have to be a networking group. It could be at a party, you know, in small get-togethers, even on the grocery line, things of that nature. Where all of a sudden you start a conversation and somebody will have that wonderful question, well, tell me what you do. That's what starts it all. It could be in a business setting when you are introduced to new clients, new suppliers, and new employees who are just coming on board. Okay, or if you're the new employee, when you are meeting people who are currently employed. Also in the business setting, you could have professional meetings, associations, etc., or in the seminars that you used to attend. Now in job search, which we are all accustomed to, and we think that this is really when we give the elevator pitch, is on these networking events where you are today. But also your pitch really can be used when you have discussions with recruiters. You know, when recruiters were on interviews for job interviews, these two really comes when that wonderful question comes about, tell me a bit about yourself. And this is a great opportunity to really give your pitch, okay?
Marty, may I ask a question?
Yes,
I'm looking at the chat box and I see a lot of LinkedIn URLs, which is awesome. So if I wanted to learn more about that person, I could click on that and go to their LinkedIn profile. Should they be putting in their headline for LinkedIn, or a little bit more of an elevator pitch type thing? Not so much what can you do, but more of a story of what is in it for me?
I think it all depends upon, you know, what you are saying in your initial pitch. Okay, really, what you know, by just putting in your URL or your email, that's not telling anything about who you are. Okay, so really, what you want to do, in my opinion, is really tell people initially what you do, and then you could follow up with your email or your URL so they could see more information.
Okay.
If you just put your URL in there, it doesn't mean that a person is going to go to your URL.
Okay.
Alrighty?
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Well, here's some of the situations where people use pitches, and I'm going to call, there's the general pitch. This is the pitch that generally you could use in almost all situations, okay? Then you have the sales pitch. This is a pitch that's really geared to sell a product, okay? You could also have the question pitch, and this starts off with a question. And the questions could vary, but you could say, you know, you could start off a pitch where basically you would say, does your organization need a person to solve their problems? And then you could go into your pitch. Or do you feel that your organization has the marketing intelligence that they need to sell their product? It'll start off with the question. And then there is the rhyming pitch. These are the pitches that you might use, give a little chuckle where people could remember you. I have in one of my groups, Neil Banya, and I don't know if anybody knows Neil. Sam, you know Neil, okay.
Sam is shaking his head, yes.
Okay. Well, Neil's pitch, and Neil's a financial individual. He's in my finance group. And he starts off his pitch. It says, Hi, I'm Neil, and here's my spiel. Okay, and everybody chuckles, and then he goes and talks about himself. So that's one way you could have a pitch. Now there's also the tagline pitch. And this is the pitch where you really only use a few words. I had an individual, Ron, in my group, and Ron, after trying to do a long-winded pitch, he ended up coming down to the pitch that sounded like this. I'm Ron, know me for academia and manufacturing. I'm Ron. That was his whole pitch. Now you could look at it and say, gee, what did he really tell me? It's so broad. Well, in looking at it, you knew that Ron dealt some way with manufacturing and also in academia. And what happened is, as a result of it, when he was in job search, people who had leads for manufacturing and for academia would send it to Ron. And if somebody told him, look, I'm looking for somebody in manufacturing, talk to Ron, he's the manufacturing guy. It was as simple as that, only a few words. So these are the different pitches that you could really use. The pitch in going through, just remember this. Pitches, especially if you're meeting the person for the first time, this is the first impression that you give on people. And your first impression is only made once. So keep that in mind. And when you start developing a pitch, remember this. People have three main needs that keep them up. They keep them, searching. One is, searching for relationships, or they have some relationships that might be somewhat troublesome or very, really loving. Then you have financial issues, and there are always health issues. And generally these three areas here, okay, people pay attention to because they have issues to consider. So you might want to try in some of your pitches to maybe bring this in during a pitch. But in looking at it, the pitch itself is comprised of what I call the 4 C's and the 3 W's. Now, what are these? Well, the 4 C's are these. Your pitch needs to be clear. It really has to be crystal clear of what you are selling or what you are all about. We said up front, it had to be short, it's quick, but it has to be concise. Keep it short. Keep it under 90 seconds. And 90 seconds is a long time. And we'll illustrate that when it comes time to construct new pitches. But under 90 seconds. And the other reason you want to keep it concise is that by keeping it concise, people cannot really filter it a lot. If you remember when you were in the lower grades, probably in grammar school, okay, the teacher would start off Monday when you play the telephone game, so to speak. You'd have a bunch of people lined up, and the teacher would ask, Johnny, tell the class, we're going to, tell the class what you did on the weekend, but whisper it in Susan's ear. And then Susan whispers it into Jim's ear. And Jim whispered it into Carol's ear. And Carol into Tony's ear. And then Tony, the teacher asked, what did Johnny do for the weekend? And Tony would say what it was. And Johnny said, that's not what I did. That's not what I said. And what happens along the line when people hear, they filter what they've heard. So by keeping it short and concise, you limit the amount of filtering. You want to be compelling, make it interesting. Okay? You do not want it to be boring. You want to, make people, listen up what you have to say. And you want it to be consistent. Okay, where you can say it over and over and over again. Now, the consistency, bear in mind, does not have to be always the same word after word after word. It's not to be done by rote, so to speak. You want to make it so that the concepts are the same, and that's where you keep it consistent. And therefore, you don't have to memorize it. Just think of your concepts, and then you could deliver it at any time. It's just a matter of practicing it, but it should be consistent where today, let's say, okay, you're doing one thing, this is what you're concentrating on, and this is what you want. Tomorrow when you tell it it's something else, that's you do not want. You want to be branded. And by being branded, there's a consistency there. So people will hear something and they'll know this is what you're all about.
Marty, you mentioned branding. Branding and elevator pitches, they're two different words. How are they alike? What does an elevator pitch have to do with branding?
Well, your elevator pitch really creates your brand. It tells people who you are and what you do. And as a result of it, you get branded from what you do and what you say. And really, they become the same. And also through your actions, you could become branded. And that's what, I've been branded as a people helper and a matchmaker. I didn't set up that way, didn't talk about it that way, but that's what people call me because that's what I do. So your elevator pitch really starts equating to branding. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the 3 W's. We talked about the 4 C's here. The 3 W's are these. You want to say who you are, what you do, and what is your value. And your value is really the listener's interpretation of what you're saying, okay? People want to engage you if they have a perception that you could add value to them by engaging you. Value is extremely important. So these are the 3 W's. Who you are, what you do, and what is your value. Now, what you do is not your title. That's not your title, what you do. Your title is really a label. And different companies have titles, but what the people do in those titles vary. So think about what you do as, the actions that you do or your purpose, not your title. The pitch really, it talks about a solution, okay? And it's really important. How will a listener benefit? It's your value to the listener that really counts in your elevator pitch. How many pitches should you have? Well, I'm saying you should have a minimum of 6 pitches as a minimum. And you're like, 6? I have a problem with just 1. But think about this. In the 6 is made up of 2 sets. 2 sets of 3s. A 15-second pitch, a 30-second pitch, and then a pitch 60 to 90 seconds. Okay. So each set, and there's 2 of them, each set has a 15-second, a 30-second, and a 60 to 90-second. Now you might want to say, how could I deliver a pitch in 15 seconds? That's too short of a time. One thing I think you'll discover as we continue through this presentation is really how much time you have to deliver these pitches. When you start, you know what you want to say, and you've practiced it and practiced it, these limits become really easy, and you'll struggle with your pitch in extending it to 60 to 90 seconds. I can assure you that. Okay, so this is what a set is made up of, but we have 2 sets. What are the 2 sets? Set 1 is for people in your profession or your industry. When you deliver a pitch to these people, these are the people who understand what you do. They speak the language that you speak, either in your profession or in your industry. There's certain terms that are used in certain industries, take for the pharmaceutical industry, take the banking industry, financial services. There's certain types of language that they use. And in professions, the same thing. Now, if I talk to you, taking my CPA certificate and say to you, okay, what I do is that I help companies by preparing their 10Ks, their 10Qs, their S1s, S8s. I do my SOX and my FOX. And you're going to look and say, what the heck did he say if you're not in that industry or that profession? Well, that's why you use set 2. Set 2 is for people in general who may not understand the terminology or the skills you utilize. By taking what I said with my finance people a moment ago, for people in general, I would say, what I do is that I help companies report to stockholders and to other people their performance, what they've done, their profitability. And I do that by preparing certain reports that analyze their financial results. And in doing it, I prepare reports for, if it's a public company, to the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is known as the SEC. It's the same thing what I just did in set 1. But if you don't know what 10Ks, 10Qs, S1s are, now in general, when I speak to you, you'll understand what I do. I report on the company's performance. Okay. Things in the pitch to consider, each pitch is geared to the audience, and it's always good to know your audience. What you want to convey in your pitch are these. Number 1, a likability. You want people to like you. You want to be friendly in your pitch, not standoffish. Okay. You want to have people feel confident in what you're saying, that you can get the job done. And you want the people to trust you, that they can believe in what you say. And as I said earlier, you want to convey that there's a value that people will get by engaging you. These are the things you want to convey in your pitch. In doing it, you really want to tell a story that will help the listener relate to their wants and their needs. And you want it to be natural. You want to be inviting in when you deliver it. And you do not want it to be robotic. I mean, I've attended many, many networking groups, networking meetings, and I always observe when someone gets up, when we did it physically, and now even on Zoom, when they give their elevator pitch, and it's like you wound them up, and you wind the switch, and then you hit the release button, and it's just, I am doing this, 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 this. No emotion. It's just bang, bang, bang. And you know it's out of memory and there's no emphasis. This is what they do. So you really have to make it inviting to the listener and make it natural, like a conversation.
That's a lot of pressure, Marty. That's a lot of pressure.
The pressure you have is what you really just, put on yourself.
Yes.
If you want to make it really easy, people like to hear what you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Just relax. What you have to do is know what you want to say. And when you practice it, it becomes easy. And here's how you do it.
There you go.
When you create it, you're going to write, the 3 W's. Okay. You're going to tell the listener once again who you are, what you do, and why they need to hear more from you. You will discuss your purpose and not your skills. Now let's look at this for a second. You will discuss your purpose, what you do, but not your skills. Do not inundate them that you're someone, you have leadership skills, management skills, blah, 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 blah. That's not what you want. You want to show what you do as the purpose. You want to discuss the benefits that people will derive from working with you. So the value that you provide to others. And what you would do to do this, okay, if you could validate the examples, validate what you've done with examples, or provide some stories that people could listen to, okay, that would then validate what you're doing over here. And you want to provide evidence that the listener can relate to. You want to make it simple, as I say. Okay, you want to make it simple and not complicated, because when it's simple, you could deliver it at any time without the pressure that Christine will put on you as we go through this.
Marty, let me ask you, I'm going to interrupt for a second. You had said your elevator pitch that you used kind of changed and morphed just a tiny bit based on others' brand of you and their perception of what you're offering. So who you are has always been who you are, but why they need to hear more might have changed a little based on people's perception. Is that correct?
Well, to some extent, yes, but bear in mind is that it's what the listener sees in you which really drives it. Okay, and the more you would explain to them as you go through it in other, I'll call it on one-on-one meetings, they learn more and more about you, which is what the key is. And when they learn more and more about you, they then could have a perception of other things that you did not initially disclose because it meets their needs. So that's why we do it that way. But keep it simple to start with. Remember concepts, and that comes into the consistency. You want to know concepts. You don't want to memorize certain things, but you want to have an order on how you will deliver your pitch and the concepts you want to bring forth. Now, what you would do, okay, in your pitch, what I recommend to do is take a piece of paper, okay? And what you want to do is that write down on paper some of what you consider your major accomplishments. Write them down. And at the same time, write down some of the things that you really want to do, that you think you're really good at. And then you put it into a little story. And then what you do, when you have it in your story, you then time it and see how long it goes. And initially cut it down to 90 seconds. So you can deliver the pitch in 90 seconds. And then what you want to do, refine it more. Refine it so you could get it down to 30 seconds. And then refine that even more, and you get it down to 15 seconds. And you will see as you write it and then practice it and cut it down, you will notice that the spoken word and the written word are different. Okay.
That is so true.
Vastly different. Okay. Here's some samples. I'll just give you a few as we go through. All right. We're going to talk about, I'm Scott, a project manager with a creative attitude to problem solving. My recent challenge has been to reduce company waste. I created a Lean Six Sigma training program, which reduced waste by over $500,000 annually. With the cost saving, the company was able to add sales staff who increased revenue by over $3 million. Let's chat to see how I can help your company. Now, let's break this down. Okay, let's take the 3 W's. Who do we have over here? We have Scott. Okay, that's who he is. Now, what's his purpose? He's a creative problem solver. That's his purpose. He put in his title, but it varies among people. All right. So he's a creative problem solver. Now, how does he validate that? Well, I'll give you a little story here. At one of the companies, okay, he created a Six Sigma training program, which reduced waste by over $500,000 annually. Now that's a value, okay? But in addition to that value here, what he did with the savings, the company was able to add sales staff, which increased revenue by over $3 million. Now that's real value. Now the listener hearing this generally said, gee, if he's done this for these other companies, and why not believe him because he's told me this, and this is where he's validated it, how much could he save for me? How much value will I get from Scott working for me? I want to have a further conversation with him. And Scott leads it right in over here. Okay, let's chat to see how I can help your company. Now, if you look at all this that I read to you, and you try to deliver it, this comes out to about 20 seconds. All this information in 20 seconds. Just think about that. I'll give you another one. You might recognize this one here. Hi, I'm Marty. I am a people helper and a matchmaker. I teach, I advise, and support people with various disciplines in multiple industries and the techniques they need for a successful job search campaign. Over 1,000 people have told me that through my coaching services, they landed the positions they always desired. If you don't have the position you always desired, let's talk and see how I can help you. Okay? This is generally what my pitch is all about. This is 15 seconds. Now, what I've told you who I am, okay? I tell you what I do over here, my purpose, that I teach, I advise, and I support people in the different techniques that they need to have a successful job search campaign. I validated what I do with the number of people, third-party verification, okay? And in doing that, looking at the value that you perceive that you've engaged me, I can help you land the position you want. And here is where I invite you for another meeting. 15 seconds. Here's another example. Let's look at this. I'm John, and I am an innovator who makes it possible for business to improve their record-keeping accuracy. By working with people and technology, I help maintain control over the cost and the deployment of systems, delivering benefits to the organization. One of my clients improved record-keeping accuracy by over 10% once I implemented blockchain for them. If you want a person to improve your transaction accuracy, we should have a conversation. Now let's break this down again. Let's see what we have. It's John. And what does John do? His purpose is to improve company record-keeping accuracy. That's what he does. He's done it for his clients successfully. One of his clients, actually, it was, he improved it by 10%. He told you how he did it. And now he's looking for another meeting for you. This pitch by John runs between 15 and 18 seconds. Now, obviously, it wasn't a rambling on. There was inflections in different places. There's a certain cadence that you follow. It's not robotic. And this is what is done. Now, how do you deliver it? Here's certain things to consider. When you first give a pitch to a person, the first thing that happens if people do not know you, when you get up and make a pitch, their mind, the listener's mind, 55% of their initial thought process is what you look like. They're evaluating how you look, how tall you are, what color hair you have, male, female, okay? Do you wear glasses? Do you have a beard? Okay. How well are you dressed? Okay. Do you have a pretty dress on? Do you have a pantsuit on, etc.? They're looking at that 55% of their initial thought process is how you look.
So you mean they're judging you?
Yes, they are. Okay. And at the same time, what's happening, they are listening to how you say what you're going to say. And that's like 38% of their mind goes that way. This is when they're first looking at you in a couple of seconds, most. Only 7% of their thought process is what you are saying. So just think about that. Only 7% of their mind when you first deliver a pitch initially is on what your message is.
So I guess you just took all the pressure off of us to.
Well, that's one way of it, to look at it. Okay, but
if we dress nice and our tone is friendly, then it really doesn't matter what we say.
Well, yes and no. But now listen to this. This is what you have to do so that people will hear your message. Okay, and what they do is this. They're also going to look for, enunciation and your emphasis on key points. They're going to listen for the pace and the cadence that you deliver your pitch. This is what happens, though. You could do it now also from sitting down in Zoom meetings or when you have physical meetings, when you get up, stand up, take a comfortable position. I don't call it an open torso type situation. When you're looking at the group, okay, keep your hands on your side, just be well balanced. Stand up. And as you stand up, they're looking at your appearance. That's what they're looking at. 55% of their mind is on your appearance. Limit your movement. Don't dance around. Just stay put. You want to relax and you smile. Smiling is inviting people to like you. And if you're sitting down for your Zoom meeting, lean forward. If you notice on the newscast, the news broadcasters, they always sit leaning forward into the camera. They're not way back like this, relaxed. They're not. They're getting engaged. And what you want to do, the first thing when you stand up, you take a moment and just say your name. Hi, I'm Marty Latman. Then pause. Pause for a second or two. Because in that initial part, when I say my name, this is what's happening. This is what's happening in that initial salvo, so to speak, Marty Latman. I pause, and now the listener's mind has caught up to me. They've evaluated me already by appearance. They heard my voice. They may have heard my message, my name, but they may have not. But now what happens? After we get over this hurdle, now they will pay attention. And what you want to do, now you could be animated. You could use your hands, especially if you're sitting down over here, okay? You could say that something is really big, and you can do this also when you're standing up. Or you want to come down and you want to really focus on an individual item that you want to talk about. So use your hand gestures.
Those are all important points that you're making, Marty. It sounds like a lot of those points could also be used for interviews, whether they're in person or through video.
Yes, they can be. It's very important. Okay. Now, what happens is that after you say your name, now you're going to go into your pitch, and you're going to deliver your pitch. If you are, let's say, in a crowd, and coming back to the physical type of meetings, or if you're in an interview with as a group of people that you will, a panel, what you want to do is what I call the 5-second pause. And what you want to do is that you want to look at one person in the crowd and focus on that person for 5 seconds and start talking to that person for 5 seconds. And then what you want to do, then you want to move over to another person and speak to that person for 5 seconds, so to speak. And then turn to another person for 5 seconds. And then after that, you could come back to the middle. You could come back to the other side for 5 seconds and pitch. You want to focus on one individual in that group. And the reason you do that is that you are now making a direct connection to that person you are speaking to, but the people around that person also feel that you are speaking directly to them. And then what happens is that when you then move to another group over here and you speak to a person over here, this person feels you're speaking directly to him or her, and the people around them, that person, think you're speaking directly to him or her. And at the same time, the people on this side who you just spoke to follow you as you go through. and the people over here are now focusing on you because you were speaking to specific individuals. You do that as opposed to what I call the oscillating fan presentation. I just want to talk to everybody at the same time. And then when I do that, I just keep my head going back and forth, and I'm not really focusing on anyone. And my message is not going to get across. I am not going to connect with a person. The 5-second pause and hold takes practice, everyone. Try it. It is very powerful. And so then what
That is absolutely best seen, Marty, in old movies versus newer movies. We talk about different technologies and different backgrounds in IT, but how they used to act compared to actors today, making that eye contact as opposed to the whole oscillating thing is very different. So that is a great tip when you are presenting.
Thank you very much. It is very, very powerful, Christine. Very powerful. And then after you finish your pitch, at the end, you want to say your name again. Okay? Now, why? Well, there's 2 reasons. First of all, if we remember up over here, most of the time when you say your name initially, people do not hear your name. Remember, only 7% of their mind is on your message. And so by saying your name at the end, they hear your name. Some people say, well, isn't that redundant? Well, for those people who up over here, when they look at you, they've been through the drill, so to speak, and they realize when you stand up, they're going to be looking for your name. Yes, it will be repeated, so to speak, but there's nothing wrong with repetition, okay? So you heard it twice. But if you get up and you start your pitch initially and do not say your name, just think what's going to happen. This whole process over here, if you just get into your pitch, they're not going to hear your message. What they're going to, listen for. They're first going to, size you up and everything. They're going to listen to your tone, but in the back of their mind is like, who is this person? And they're going to wonder through the whole pitch who you are. So that's why initially when you start with your name up front and you pause, you are compensating for the 55-38-7 rule, okay? So keep that in mind. Okay, now, this is going to be the group participation time. What I ask everyone to do is that I want you on a piece of paper, and you can follow this, to create an elevator pitch. You could use what you currently have if you feel it's good, or you could dip your toes into something new and try something new, where you could construct something on what we discussed, where we want to say who you are and what you do. Who, what can the listener, expect from you? The results. What do you do for the listener? How would you substantiate your value? And how do you make your pitch conversational? Now, during this presentation, I have been speaking about time. Remember 15, 30, 60 to 90. Those are your pitches, your sets. You will now see how much time really has. I will give you 3 minutes to create an elevator pitch. I will let you know when it's 90 seconds left. And just remember, if I take 3 minutes, I divide it in half, it's 90 seconds. So from the time that we start, you will start seeing how long 90 seconds are. So I ask for your participation. And if we start writing right now, we'll start timing it.
Ready, set, go if you're not going already.
Two minutes left. Ninety seconds left. Sixty seconds left. Thirty seconds left. 15 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pens down, close your blue books, as my professor used to say. Now, how many people have sweated that one out? Just, let's, Tanya, it's one. Just think, that was 3 minutes.
Hey, Rob Kahn has one up. He's put in the chat box and everything. He's ready to go.
Okay.
Rob, you want to share with us? Maybe take yourself off mute and let everyone know what you said.
Hey, how's it going?
Okay.
Sure, let's see. When you think about tackling complex problems, facing monster challenges, and facing the darkness of the unknown, this can make you feel uneasy, uncomfortable, and out of your element. That's where I come in. I look at those complex problems and crazy challenges, not with fear, but excitement. I'm ready to jump in and take on your unknowns. Give me back some control. That's it. Oh, I'm Brian, sorry. I'm Rob Kahn.
Okay. What do people think? Let's have some comments.
Well, Margaret is very sweaty from the exercise, so I think she needs to recuperate and get some water.
Any comments?
So Marty, this is Tanya.
Yeah.
I think he spoke very clearly. I think Rob spoke very clearly, and I like the pace in which he spoke. He wasn't too slow.
Thanks.
He wasn't too quick.
Okay. So delivery was fine.
Yes.
Okay. What else?
Yeah, that's
Anybody
always,
else?
that's always my fears. Like I said, I tend to speak fast, so I was trying to pace myself. You're saying get a little bit of cadence to it so I could control how fast I was speaking with it.
Rob, I like it, but it doesn't grab in the beginning. Like, you don't get me until you get to that's where I come in. I like it, but it just didn't just like grab me right from the first second.
The question, the way he presented it in the question format, Valerie, do you feel that has something to do with it?
It could be. And maybe because it's not a question, it's really a statement.
Yeah, in the beginning it was. I mean, I think because I was trying to come up with the ideas, I was writing it.
Right. Mine's not perfect either. I'm not.
Well,
Oh, no,
look,
that's-
you know, right now, these
3
aren't,
minutes, come on,
I
guys.
didn't expect perfection right now, okay? But this is good. Okay, so Robert didn't hit Valerie. Go ahead. Anybody else have any other comments?
I was gonna say something similar to what Valerie said, in that in the beginning, I would just phrase it as a question. Like when I think about what I want to say, I'm asking them, are these the issues that you face? Because I can help you with this. And that's what I would like to see. But I like the other Tanya, I think it was, said, I love the pace and I love the confidence in which he presented it.
Okay. Anybody hear anything about how he validates what he does?
I didn't, but he caught my attention enough where I would continue speaking to him.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right, Rob. Well, a couple of things, you've gotten some feedback now on what you have to say, and I really appreciate you leaping in and trying
A
it.
pleasure.
Okay. You almost forgot your name at the end. Okay, you did forget your name at the beginning. So, okay, that's the other thing to look at it. But, if you work on it, just think about
Absolutely.
that. How did you feel? How did you feel, crafting it?
I was okay with it. I mean, towards the end, I was trying to. I didn't get a chance to read a lot of it, so I wrote little bits and pieces, like little corrections here and there as I wrote it. But because the time was going quicker at the end, I was like, okay, I gotta get it in there.
Okay.
Did anybody time, Rob, how long it actually took? Anyone? No.
Let's watch it.
Okay, we'll do that. We can do that as we go along. But, look, you had 3 minutes to craft something. And look what you were able to craft in 3 minutes. Okay. And your delivery first time was very, very good.
Thank you.
Okay. The more you practice something like that, the easier it will become. And I'm telling you, the time will probably be reduced. But, thank you very much for participating. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we have any other volunteers? Anybody else? Tanya, go ahead.
Marty, I crafted a new one. It's different from the one that you've heard before. It's different from the 15-second.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna read it because I just drafted it. Hello, my name is Tanya Malanga. I'm a program manager experienced in improving organizational processes. Through my years of experience, I'm able to rapidly and effectively identify areas in need of improvement and ensure resources are allocated properly to quickly and effectively execute. And I stopped there because you were freaking me out, counting down time. But my name is Tanya Malanga.
Pens down. All right.
Okay. Okay.
Countdown was too.
No, it's all right. Any comments? Let's give Tanya some feedback. What do you think?
I already know I was speaking too fast.
I think it's very clear what you do, Tanya.
I think it was, from that standpoint, very, very good.
But I have to bring in value.
Well, you were starting to get to that. Okay, what you had to say. How you're helping people, to solve these things. This is what you do. okay? You know, I hate that I freaked you out, but you could practice a little more. Okay. You were almost there.
Yeah, no, it was. I think it was good. Also, I think you got nervous at the end, so you went quickly forward. But I think it was pretty well done.
Thank you.
Okay. Then,
Yeah, I think
anybody time her as she went through this?
no.
No? Okay.
I was so wrapped up in listening to your words, Tanya, I forgot to time you too. So,
Well, Tanya, just to let you know, it was 20 seconds.
all right.
Okay.
That's it.
I think I concur with everybody else that the presentation and the tone were excellent.
Thank you.
I would have liked to have heard the rest of it where it stopped.
Well,
No
that's great,
fault.
Sam. Sam, that's great. Okay. You know, that, Tanya, that's what you're leading towards.
Okay.
So you're almost there. Okay. Can we have one more? Any other volunteers? One more.
Well, if nobody else does.
Anybody else? Just, you know, whoever wants to go, let's go. Going
I'll do
once?
mine.
Go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sam M. Cohen. Please use my middle initial to find me on social media or the information in my background to connect. I'm an IT leader known for delivery of quality, effective solutions, and I have a history of assisting others. I provide IT management and leadership coordinated with outside clients and internal business customers. The results are based on an ability to provide broad out-of-the-box thinking to processes, procedures, and organizations, the effort to bring out the best in people, and the organization of effective teams. Let's chat. I'm Sam M. Cohen, and I accept nothing less than success.
Thank you, Sam.
That was really good.
That was 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments?
That was excellent.
Yeah. Sam M. Cohen.
Yeah, I liked how you pointed that out about what is the middle initial. That was like it was humorous as well.
Okay. What else do we have? Any other comments?
I thought he spoke very clearly. He certainly captured my attention too with that introduction on how to find him on social media. And I would want to talk to him more.
Okay. All right. Question I have for you, Sam, and you know, what you had to say was really catchy. If you're going to meet someone and it's not at a networking event, okay, would you use the same line
No.
to open up?
No, if I was meeting somebody one-on-one, like even when we used to go, if we were one-on-one in a room, first of all, I probably wouldn't state my name because Marty, as you've taught me, I'd be wearing a name tag. And, you know, so, and I would probably focus more on something more specific that I delivered if I knew what the person was about.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to clarify that.
And I think state your name's a good thing, though, isn't it? I mean, Marty, isn't it? If he, I mean, not maybe it's not his whole name, but I think it kind of brings a more friendly approach to somebody when you state your name in it.
Well, no, I think, you know, by using his middle initial, okay, that's great. He's really distinguished himself and he's unique. Okay, and it becomes really, to some extent, a conversation piece if you want to look at it that way. All right, but my point would be that in doing it, okay, if you want to have a conversation with someone right off the bat to discuss things, you really don't want to direct them to your social media platform.
Oh, no, of course not.
Okay, and that's why I asked for clarification. So that's something to think about. But look, you know what was done. It was really good on all three people, okay? You were under a lot of pressure, which is great from my standpoint. This will teach you how to do things, okay? But one thing that I hope that everyone has a takeaway on this is that the time, okay? Your timing is important. And 3 minutes, okay? 3 minutes is a long time. Now, the first time that, you know, when I said there was 2 minutes to go, just think how much time you had that minute, that 60 seconds, when I didn't say anything and you didn't feel the pressure, okay, how long that is. And then when you try to speak with people, and let's look what we had. Sam's, little pitch that he made over here, this was the longest. And that was only 45 seconds. So you have a lot of time to develop the information that you want to deliver. And you do not have to rush through it. But what you have to think, number one, by writing it down, you have the general concepts of what you want to discuss. And then you could finesse the words as you go through it and you practice it. Okay, so keep that in mind as you go through this and do further developing on your pitch. Because in today's environment, everyone, the pitch, the first impression, is extremely important today.
Marty, we do have a question from Karen. She raised her hand.
Okay.
Karen Robson,
Hi, I was just going to volunteer to do my pitch. I don't have any questions.
did
You're
you
fine.
want to do it and get some
Oh.
feedback? I don't want to ignore you.
Only if time allows. I don't want to hold
Time
up.
allows.
Time allows. There you go. See, we're putting some pressure on you.
All right. I'll take the pressure.
Okay.
So hello, everybody. Is your business using your marketing dollars responsibly? Rise and Share, a New Jersey nonprofit organization, is developing a platform for Middlesex County, New Jersey nonprofits to promote their cause and upcoming events, which will help them recruit donations, gifts, and volunteers through the platform's functionalities. Shared Middlesex, as it will be called, is a catalyst to help corporations use their marketing budget for tax-deductible gifts while strengthening the nonprofit sector. My name is Karen Robson. I have over 30 years of business and nonprofit collaborating and storytelling. Let me share how your business can market even more responsibly while supporting all local nonprofits in an agnostic and non-political presence. Could we schedule some time to discuss these opportunities? Thank you.
Karen Robson. Okay. Well, number one, that was 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, that's what it was. Now, that's not bad. I mean, it's a different thing that you came through. Any comments? There was a lot of information there, everybody. What do you think? Everybody tired?
I
No.
question whether the pitch is about you or about Middlesex nonprofit. What are you pitching to us?
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Because they're combined.
Okay.
You write a little about yourself and more about your company, and it would be a little more information about yourself in general.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Because we got both, I'm just
got
not
two
sure
messages.
whether we should think of you or we should think of the nonprofit when we see your face.
Okay.
What
My takeaway on that, Karen, is that when you started going into it, my mind shifted that you were talking about a product that will be utilized by a different not-for-profits. And I think that's what you were pitching. But then towards the end, then you turned it around to you. Okay. So I think to some extent you diluted what your initial pitch was for the product. Okay. And at the same time, you didn't give enough time for yourself because you've taken your time away by talking about the product. So you had two messages and the emphasis didn't come across on either one because it was a mixed message.
Okay.
Okay,
I thank you.
no problem. Thank you for raising your hand and joining us. Okay, let's just wrap this up and then I'm on further questions. Okay, the pitch is a short, persuasive speech you use to introduce yourself, promote your product or company or an idea. The pitch incorporates the 4 C's. It's concise, compelling, clear, and consistent. And it also has the 3 W's: who you are, what you do, your purpose, okay, not your skills, your purpose, and what value you generate, and really what makes you unique. Okay, different times require different pitches. And in delivery of your pitch, it's really, really important to be aware of body language, your tone, your cadence, and how you involve the audience. Okay, and I leave you with the following, which I always talk about. Listen, everyone, networking. Networking, which generates most of the job leads today, between 45 and 95% of job leads, and which is mostly I'll call it the hidden market. To network, it's a matter of following your ABC. Always be connecting to new people. And always, always stay connected to the people who you already have in your network. Out of sight is out of mind. So keep connecting with those people. ABP, what's really important in your job search and you're on a journey is to be positive. Everyone here will land. Everybody lands. Just a matter of time, and as long as you want to land. So be positive, everybody, but be prepared, because opportunities could come at any time, anytime. And what generally happens, you generally on this journey have a lot of no's. You get a lot of no's, you come in second. Of course, nobody comes in third, fourth, or fifth. It's either first or second. So you're going to get a lot of no's because you're going to come in second. But stay positive, because the more no's you generally get, the closer you are going to get to that yes. And it only requires one yes to land the position. And the last thing I talk about are the two most important words you should carry with you. They're as simple as it depends. Okay? What I mean by that is that on this journey, and I think also in life, okay, you really have to think strategically. You want to know where you are and where you want to go. And the actions that you take are really dependent upon the circumstances that are in front of you or currently exist. There are no rules. I repeat, there are no rules on networking. There are certain etiquettes, but no rules. And when it comes to the documents that you need, be it an elevator pitch, be it a marketing plan, be it a resume, there are no rules on what has to be. Your resume could be a page, it could be 2 pages, it could be multiple pages. No rules to it. You have to be able to get the point across that you want to make. So keep that in mind. If someone says it has to be that way, not necessarily. It depends on the circumstances. So keep that in mind as you go through this. And as I said at the beginning, I wanted to thank everybody for spending this time with me today. Hopefully I provided some, nuggets for you to consider, to utilize, to help you along the search. Okay. I am a people helper and a matchmaker. You could contact me at my cell 201-919-2607, or that's my main email, martylatman@gmail.com. If you want a copy of the presentation, just email me. We could link in together. There's my LinkedIn URL. Okay, it's very simple. Okay. Let me help you. I'm Marty Latman. And that being said, everybody, we are now back. And any other questions I am open for. Christina, I turn it back to you.
Does anyone have a question that I should ask Marty? Little too nervous to ask yourself, you can ask me. Many nuggets. Thank you, Marty.
My pleasure.
Anything else?
Anybody else have any
I saw
questions?
somebody wrote in the chat box, KISS, keep it simple. We've probably learned it as we were, first graders and all the way through, and it applies to so many different industries. So that's a really good tip, because maybe we thought about it one way and it could really go in a lot of different ways. So, yeah. All right. Closing. I will send to you the URL link recording when Zoom gets around to posting everything, and I can post it to YouTube. And I will send you personally the chat box. So look for that if you'd like to make connections. If you included your LinkedIn URL or your email address or even your cell phone number, everything that is in the chat box will be sent to you for everyone that participated on this call. Okay, and feel free to make contact with Marty if you would like a copy of the slides that we just talked about. So most important, always be connecting. ABC, you go to networking groups, meet new people, have a 15-minute chat with them on Zoom or on the phone and get to know them, but have your elevator pitch ready to go so you can tell them about you. All right. I think that's it. Big thank you. Great content.
Okay, Christine, thank you very much. Everybody on the call, you should thank Christine for what she does for you. She is very, very helpful for many people. And, many times we take for granted those people who help us. So a little thank you along the way really helps people. So Christine, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And without wonderful speakers such as Marty and others before, as well as others that are booked, we wouldn't be able to pass on all this information. I'm sure you get tired of listening to me. So it's always good to have somebody else's perspective. Thank you, Marty, for bringing that to us.
Okay.
All right. Everyone have a wonderful day and week. And hopefully it'll be warm and there'll be no more snow and we can all leave our four walls. Take care, everyone.
Okay, be well.
I'll be in touch. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.